Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It is February 12th, 2012. This is another live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. And I'm your host, Popeye, from federaljack.com. Now, I've gotten a bunch of emails this weekend asking me what's going on with Federal Jack. So really quick so you guys understand, since Friday it has been down. We put up a quick little splash page to explain, we're under maintenance. But we are moving the entire site to a more secure server so that we get attacked often, to the point that we've gone through multiple servers over the years and different hosting companies and things like that. And a awesome group of individuals who do my IT work are in the process of moving Federal Jack, and everything, all the articles, dating back all the way to like 2006, I think the archives go back to, all the videos, pictures, everything that's there, everything you love about the site is being moved to a more secure location so that the chance of it going down is smaller and the uptime for the website will be much greater, less inconvenience for everybody, and it will enable me to do some more stuff with it and take federaljack.com to the next level for all of you people. Because again, you guys are the reason I do this. I'm just trying to educate everybody so we can stop this madness and move on. I have many other interests other than combating these New World Order douchebags. It just so happens that I realize that this is priority number one, and I have sacrificed everything in my life to stop this. So Federal Jack is not going anywhere. We're not down forever. We haven't been removed. We are in the process of moving our stuff to a more secure bunker. So have no fear. We will be back in a few days. But because the website is so large, it's taken over 2 days already, over 48 hours It's been moving, and it's obviously it's computers that do it. You just set it to do it. And it's taken over 48 hours to move what we've moved over so far. So, I mean, the site is enormous, ladies and gentlemen. There's a ton of information there. So I promise federaljack.com will be back up soon. And the other question I asked was, somebody sent me an email, and they said, Popeye, what's going on with your one YouTube channel? You talked about it the other day. Really quick, I have 2 channels. Well, I have a few. I think there's 3 that are active right now, but 2 of them had full-length upload capabilities. Federal Jack Tube 6 and The Answer to 1984 Is. Now, the second one, The Answer to 1984, that was given to me by a listener and a fellow patriot, and guy's does excellent video work, just amazing, incredible work. And he gave it to me with full-length upload capability to help fight the info war. And actually, a video he had made for an imaginary mock movie that didn't exist was called The Revolution, 2013 Revolution. It was about, if Ron Paul won the election and everything, kind of like pushing that idea. It was really just for an Alex Jones InfoWars contest, which I guess Jones held like over a year ago when this guy first made the account and put everything together so he could do this. And that's what they gigged. They gigged a Ron Paul video because it had a soundbite from that song by Muse called, I think it's called Uprising, or The Uprising, whatever it is, it came out a couple months ago. Everybody knows what it is. They gigged the account for that, and they took away the full-length upload capability, and they blocked that video, which had over 50,000 views. They took away the full-length upload capabilities to that channel. So I'm just going to leave the channel alone and let it sit there. I'm not going to mess with it. I don't want it to get any more strikes. I'm going to create another channel as a backup full-length channel. But for right now, I still have full-length capabilities over at Federal Jack Tube 6. So I hope that answers everybody's questions that I've gotten. And by the way, since federaljack.com is down, no, we have not been able to get any emails and stuff lately. So what I did was I created a brand new contact email because I'm going to be getting rid of our Gmail accounts. The only Gmail account I will save is the VFOR911@gmail.com account. Any other accounts we have with Gmail are eradicated. They're gone. The only thing I'll be using is YouTube. I'm getting rid of Google Chrome. This is my way of standing up to Google's new privacy policy. It's the only thing I can do right now to stand up to it besides alerting everybody to what's going on. The only way I myself can make a difference is to refuse to use their crap. So I refuse to use their crap as much as possible. So I made a new contact email for the website with Yahoo. Okay, now who knows, Yahoo goes down the same route, then we'll have to do the same thing. But for right now, if you want to get in touch with me for the show, I'm going to give you the new email. And I will have Jules put it up on the website for me, up on Orion. When she gets a chance, I'll have her change my email. I have to. In fact, this is probably, if she's listening to the show, this is probably the first she's hearing of it. So, because this is all stuff I've been doing behind the scenes. I just haven't gotten a chance to bring it forth. So right now, get a pen, piece of paper, crayon, marker, whatever you write with, chalk, or try to remember this. It's real simple. Contact DTRH@yahoo.com. Contact DTRH, which stands for down the rabbit hole, at yahoo.com. Contact DTRH@yahoo.com. Again, that goes for the veterans that have, anybody that's emailed me. Let's do this. If you've emailed me in the past month, send your emails again to that, because anything that went to info@federaljack, we had problems with the server and the webmail wasn't working properly. So a lot of stuff I didn't get, or I would get stuff piecemeal, a week or two later. That's another reason why we're moving to a more secure server. So again, contact DTRH@yahoo.com. Veterans views, any information, anything you want to talk about, you want to get on the show, somebody that maybe wants to get on the show, you want to contact me for whatever reason, hit me up there. That is the show's contact information, and I will also be using it for Federal Jack. So any questions about the website, the YouTube channels, or my show itself, hit me up at contact DTRH at yahoo.com. Contact DTRH at yahoo.com. All right. Now that I've gotten through my diatribe for the day, I have an information-packed show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to be going off. I will be on fire, I promise, because I was pissed off when I was going over a lot of this stuff, doing my show prep. So I promise, fiery show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be getting into the BS push for intervention in Syria, shenanigans with Obama, YouTube BS, TSA, and even more. So stay tuned. We'll be back 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Just in case you guys don't know, they're rioting in Greece right now. Things are going off the hook. The Greek citizens really don't care about their politicians anymore. You can tell the people are just about at that breaking point. Genocidal austerity measures so that they can give all this money to the banks on BS interest. You know, interest really kills me because people, I have to pay the interest. Oh my God, my whole world will collapse. You know, I owe the bank this much money, and then they're going to make this much in interest, and this is what you have to pay. You know, Popeye, you don't understand economics. This is the real world. No, I understand economics. I understand you're getting effed. Okay, you are a slave. Interest is money made from nothing. They didn't do anything to earn it. There was no physical labor done to earn that interest. It's digital money that's fictitious in itself, and it just sits in a digital account and makes digital interest. Just a bunch of numbers. Just a bunch of numbers on a screen. That's all it is. Just a bunch of crap, and people are slaves to it. And now the Greek people they're tired of these genocidal austerity measures that their government, you know, cutting all sorts of stuff, making people, you know, you can't retire, taking things away from the general public, you know, cutting back on police, cutting back on, you know, bus service, cutting back on anything like that. Taking away health care and stuff for older people, or taking away care for older people, what like you'd call like Social Security here in the United States. Things like that. Just taking it away. You can't have this anymore because our country's in deep. You have to sacrifice. And that's coming here. They want that. You have to sacrifice. It's for the better of the good, don't you people understand? You're just friggin' selfish, all you greedy bastards. It's people like you that got us into this mess. No, it's not. Okay? It's people like David Rockefeller, the Rothschild clan, and so on that got us into this mess. J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs. That's what got us into this mess. And people you don't even know of, people whose names you've never heard of, have gotten us into this mess. Our politicians have gotten us into this mess. Running around in foreign countries, bombing the living shit out of people that you never even met for reasons you don't even understand. That's how we got into this mess. We are so quick to get involved in other people's crap. But I'm going to get into that today, too, with Syria. The mainstream media and everybody, they're all, oh, poor Syria, the Syrian people. And I know I'm going to get emails, Popeye, that's so mean. There's innocent people dying. You know what? Wah. It's a civil war. It's their country. It's none of our business. What happens if the tables were reversed and it was going on here? You don't think our politicians and Obama and the rest of these morons would be telling people, other countries, stay out of our internal affairs. This is the United States. We handle our own stuff. You don't think they'd be telling you that? You don't think they'd be telling China and all these other countries to stick it? Russia and China have said, stay out of Syria, stay out of North Korea, mind your own effing business. Remember that clip from Wesley Clark? He talked about, he was at the Pentagon. Remember that? A couple days after 9/11, and he said that he met with an officer, and there was a whole bunch of countries. There was a list of countries they wanted to invade. Syria and Iran were both on those lists, as was Libya, Iraq. Do you think this is all just spontaneously happening, ladies and gentlemen? It is not. And by the way, I think it's a little shady that Anonymous, and I'm doing air quotes, Anonymous, attacked the Syrian government's websites the other day and was DDoSing all these different websites and everything over there. I I find that a little shady, and releasing emails of Syrian people or, officials or whatever, and all the addresses and all this information and stuff. I find that very shady that Anonymous, who themselves says that they are against the New World Order, they've said it in their videos, would help out fight the Syrian government, because that would help the NSA, CIA, MI6, New World Order, Mossad. Oh, then I think back to when I talked to Winston. And what did Winston and I talk about? What did Winston warn you about? Winston said, be wary. And I'm not talking about the false flag hack attacks. I'm talking about one of the first times Winston came on. What did he say to you, ladies and gentlemen? He shared a lot of wisdom. And he said, be wary, because I asked him about this, and that's when he came on. He said, be wary of the government using Anonymous's name to do things. Did he not? He said, be wary of the CIA, the Pentagon, using their digital capabilities for cyber war under the guise of Anonymous. And remember, he said the federal government could do it too. So how do you know that it couldn't be the State Department doing it? They were heavily, I want to say they've been caught, but it's been shown that they're heavily involved in all of this stuff. There's a company, and I can't remember the name of it. Op4, I think, is what, no, that's not maybe, yeah, I have to check. But the group originally called itself, I think they called themselves Op4. Now, that's the group that runs around teaching people how to do protests and stuff. It's been about a year, maybe 2 years now, I guess, that they've been really well known. And their symbol is the raised fist. Occupy Wall Street, all these other different uprisings around the world, the Egyptian Revolution, all of them, they all have that raised fist. That's from this group, and I forget the name of it. You'd have to look it up, but they go around teaching people how to, quote unquote, foment a revolution. And they're backed by the State Department. They're backed by our State Department. I'm not kidding. You can go look it up. It's ridiculous. There's actually a group, and I can't remember. They're from, one of the, I think they started off, I remember correctly, like around one of the former Russian provinces or whatever, somewhere around there. And their thing is, their symbol is an upright fist. And when you research this group, you realize that they openly admit, the State Department even admits that they back them and they give them money. So your money, ladies and gentlemen, your tax dollars, when you go buy fuel, when you go buy food, when you go buy anything, okay, your income tax, that's a complete different story. But all the other federal taxes on cigarettes, everything, all this money, that's where it's going. It's helping foment revolutions in other countries. Now, do you think that if somebody was trying to do that here in the United States, don't you think that the government would have an issue with that? What would they call that? They would probably label it treason and sedition and probably throw you in jail, and they'd probably call you a homegrown terrorist and lock you up for life and put you in a camp somewhere. Waterboard you, torture you, beat you, whatever gets them off that day. So do you think that you would be allowed to pull that off? Do you think that would be allowed to happen here in the United States? But yet we turn around and actually fund a group that does this in other countries all over the world. Do you see the hypocrisy, ladies and gentlemen? Do you understand that the rule of law in this country is gone? There is no rule of law. It's color of law. Under color of law. Pretending that it's the law. Using the law as a shield to do their dirty deeds. For real. You try to go foment a revolution here in the United States and see what happens to you. Do it openly. Go ahead and see what happens to you. You'll have a drone over your house. You'll have a SWAT team. If not, well, now with the NDAA, they'll just send in special forces, and they'll drag you out of your house and probably execute you on your front lawn. Or lock you up at some friggin' camp and try to chemically lobotomize you, just like they do everybody else. Look what they did to Susan Lindauer, and this was back in like 2003 before the NDAA. Wake up, ladies and gentlemen. Code red. Our rights are being taken away, and they're smiling right in our faces while they're doing it. We need to slap these people around and take our rights back. Going to break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. just in case some of you don't know who Susan Lindauer is or wonder what happened to her, you can look her book up, Extreme Prejudice. Look it up on Amazon and purchase it and read it. I suggest you do so. I have a personal copy myself. I've read it. Very, very intriguing book. And it will enlighten you as to what lengths the government will go to shut people up that know too much. And you can also go to my archives. If you go over to, Federal Jack's down right now. If you go to Federal Jack Tube 6 on YouTube, just go through all my show archives. Just look through all the videos. Just go to uploaded videos and then scroll through. And I've interviewed her 5 or 6 times. Just listen to the different interviews I've had with her. And you'll find all about who Susan Lindauer is. So, very interesting story. Okay, getting back to the color of law and how there is no law in this country, I want to play a clip for you guys. Very interesting. I thought you might find this interesting to know that for the first time in history, first time in recorded history of court systems, period. First time, or at least as far as I know, and I went back and I looked through this as far as, this goes back hundreds of years of history, not just in our country, but courts all around the world, where somebody didn't show up to court, was found to be in contempt of court, and still won their court case. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Barack Obozo. That's what I'm talking about.
Georgia judge late this afternoon rejected a complaint that sought to keep President Obama off the state's presidential primary ballot next month. The complaint contended President Obama is not a natural-born citizen. In his decision, Deputy Chief Judge Michael Malihi said it has been determined President Obama was born in Hawaii and is a natural-born citizen. President Obama's local attorney did not attend a hearing last week, even after the judge's order compelling the president and his attorney to attend. The plaintiff's attorneys urged the judge to hold the president and his attorney in contempt. The judge said he didn't condone the move.
Now, you see, that's a lie, because this was already done. What he's not telling you is that this was not an appeal. This was a decision that was already set, and another judge stepped in and overturned it. The one judge already said Obama can't be on the ballot. You're in contempt. You didn't show up to court. Your lawyer didn't even bother to show up. You think you're above the law just because you're Barack Obama, because you're the president of the United States, and I'm doing air quotes. So they found him in contempt. He wasn't allowed to be on the ballot. A couple days later, this guy overturns the decision, this judge. So obviously, the Obama lawyers or whatever, probably seeking, a quote-unquote appeal or whatever, went to a different authority. Now, you see how Fox News reports it? That it was just, it was shot down and that's it, and he's on the ballot. They don't explain to you that this one judge overturned another judge's decision. And this judge had the balls to say there wasn't enough evidence. First of all, in a court of law, just in case people aren't sure how a court of law works, okay, the way it's supposed to work is that if somebody brings enough evidence to prove that there is possibly a crime going on, and the court, they have that evidence in their hands in front of them, it is not up to you to prove that, like, by not even showing up. It's not up to the person who's filing the lawsuit to prove beyond what he's already, if he's already proved beyond a shadow of a doubt where the court says, yes, you have to come, that already means that the court took what he had to say seriously. So it's not his job to prove to them that Barack Obama is innocent of these charges. That would be Obama's lawyer's position to do that. They would have to come in and answer the charges. If I go to the court and I say, I have videotape, pictures, witness testimony, a predator spy drone video of my neighbor robbing and killing the other next door neighbor. And I say, to the cops, you need to go after this guy. Look, here's all the evidence, blah, 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 blah. And they go after him and bring him to court. It is not my job to prove that he's innocent. I don't have to give you the evidence to prove that. I have to give you there has to be substantial evidence to even bring them to court to prove that there might be a crime going on. This case just throws all that on its head. Gets rid of it. Just poof, gone. It doesn't matter. first time in freaking history that somebody does not show up to court and they win. He was held in contempt. You see how Brent Baer and Fox News, well, the lawyers wanted them to hold him in contempt. No, he was found in contempt by the first judge. He was already found in contempt of court. But see how they reword it and they don't show you that. And you wonder why Fox News axed Judge Napolitano's show. Oh, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Just in case you didn't know, Fox News is round-filing Napolitano's show. Excuse me, Fox Business Network is getting rid of Napolitano's show. Top-rated show on that network. They are replacing, tell me if this makes any sense to you, if this sounds like a smart business model. And for somebody to say, well, maybe they're just being dumb. No, they're not being dumb. Obviously, you can see there's censorship at hand here. Okay, see if this makes any sense to you business people out there that might not want to think there's a conspiracy underway to censor what the judge has to say because he supports Ron Paul and he's against the NDAA and everything else. You don't think there's a conspiracy? How about this? How about top-rated show on your network, you replace it with reruns of crappier shows that air earlier in the day. That's what Fox News is doing with their Fox Business Network and Napolitano's time slot. And, of course, they axed two other shows, one of which was run by Eric Bolling, who is a loudmouth jerk-off, and I've torn him apart multiple times and shown him to be such a shill it's not even funny. But he's such a loser, he doesn't have any ratings. So they axe his show, they axe this other show, but they keep they keep all these reruns that they're going to air from earlier in the day, and they axe Napolitano's show. They got rid of, I mean, I'm not saying I think the judge is a god or anything, but he was the only dissenting voice of, like, liberty on that network. These conservatives piss me off when they're like, well, I watch Fox News. Well, don't. They're bigger liars than CNN and MSNBC. They're all in the same boat. Stop buying into the left-right paradigm. You want to find out what's going on? Turn off cable TV altogether. Turn off your friggin' television. Unplug it from the wall. The only thing I suggest you watch are documentaries that deal with what's going on, okay, and reality. Truth. Unplug the freaking cable. Stop watching CNN or Fox News or MSNBC. They're all idiots. They're all losers. I mean, CNN, them and MSNBC and even Fox, they're all pushing the same drumbeat for war with Iran, war, going into Syria. We need to help the Syrian people. They're dying. It's horrible. Oh, Popeye, you're heartless because you don't want to help them. It's none of our effing business. It's not our business. Let me say it again. It's not our business. I don't want to hear, well, this is a big world, Popeye. It's a different world than 30 years ago. No, it's not. It's the same friggin' world. The world hasn't changed. Only your idiotic viewpoint on things have changed. That's it. The world hasn't changed, idiots. And yeah, I'm attacking you people because I'm tired of my life being subject to the hell that it is, okay, with what's going on with reality, pending World War III, police state, and everything else, because you morons won't pull your heads from your asses because you're too comfortable. Fox News wouldn't lie to me. Popeye, that's wrong. Fox News is great. No, it's not great. Turn them off. I think I'd rather you listen to two cats screwing in the background, okay? A lot of people I know put them on for just, they tell me background noise. It's still programming BS into your head because later on I'll have a conversation with said person and they'll say to me, they'll recite to me verbatim Fox News' propaganda. And I go, did you do any research on it? Well, no, but I saw it somewhere. And they might not even remember where they got it from. It's because they heard it in the background. Your subconscious is always paying attention, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that. That's why TV works the way it does. So turn it around. Use their brainwashing machine to your advantage. Okay? Plunk in truth movies, documentaries, whatever. If you can, put YouTube to your TV, watch videos that way, and get rid of the brainwashing. Rewash your brain with truth. Take the shrink wrapping off of your brain. Stop buying into this, Iran is going to get us. They have female ninjas that are now training. Right, and Benjamin Fulford's ninjas were supposed to come get Bush and all them and the neocons and the New World Order, right? Ladies and gentlemen, stop believing the propaganda. Stop believing the lies, okay? Go ask the veterans that are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan if any of this was worth it. No. It's time to man up and take this country back and get mad, get angry at the bullshit that's going on. Let me hear your war cry. We're going to break. We'll be right back. All right, so how do we look at the news the news coming out of Syria and the news from CNN, MSNBC, and Fox about Syria? How do we look at it? Well, most of the people in this country look at it, whatever, section is watching Fox or whatever. They're all getting the same talking points, and a lot of them are, oh my God, children are dying in the street. Oh, we have to do something. Oh God. Oh, as long as it's like Libya, I back it. So as long as the president sends our assets and our military and spends our money bombing the crap out of a foreign country that we shouldn't be even getting involved in, that's okay with you as long as no troops die because you support the troops, right? Yeah, real smart, ladies and gentlemen. Time to wake up and see what's going on, okay? Now, what's going on with Syria? There are some claims being made that Assad's people are killing babies and, this just reeks of the Iraq incubator baby story. Oh my God, the soldiers are taking babies out and cutting their heads off, and they're leaving children's headless corpses as a way of showing how brutal the regime is. That's not true. Okay, first of all, we shipped over Libyans from Libya, Libyan rebels with arms into Syria to fight with the quote-unquote Free Syrian Army. So Al-Qaeda is helping the Free Syrian Army, okay? Now, Popeye, that's just conspiracy theory. Really? It's documented. Go look it up. And now, the other day, Al-Qaeda comes out and says that Arabs all across the world and all Al-Qaeda factions need to stand up to Assad and his evil, tyrannical regime. That's right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Al-Qaeda, Anonymous, and the United States government and a lot of the UN want to go free the Syrians and help the Syrian people. Does this sound like a line of crap to you? Because it sounds like a line of crap to me. And it smells so bad that I can't even be in the same room with it. For real. Ridiculous. And you think I'm kidding that Al-Qaeda is not calling? You think I'm making this up? Oh, Popeye, where'd you hear that? Some crazy website, right? Because the internet's full of that weird stuff. Here, listen to this.
The latest angle we have on this story is that Al-Qaeda is now saying that it's extending its support to the Syrian opposition as Washington is now preparing to back the opposition. It does seem perhaps a bit bizarre at first that they're both supporting each other in this against the Assad regime. America ultimately backing its enemy in the war on terror.
I don't think that Al-Qaeda is too far from the United States politics in the region all over the world. Many branches of Al-Qaeda are in fact related to the United States, to the CIA directly. And mainly if you know that Al-Qaeda have been created originally by the United States, CIA or the regime in general. Accordingly, I think that the United States is behind Al-Qaeda in Syria as it was behind Al-Qaeda in Libya. It is the same, by the way. And that's why, I think Al-Qaeda is still trying to manipulate the Arab people that, Al-Qaeda is against the United States because it is some form of internal compromise between the leadership of Al-Qaeda and the United States regime so as to show that they are against the United States because the United States in the region have a very bad reputation.
All right, so is it fair to say then that it looks like now that Washington and Al-Qaeda are both fighting against the same enemy, that of President Assad?
It is for sure, and we have to put in mind also that the fundamentalists in general are in a very good relationship in the ideology regarding, the issue of capitalism, that capitalism and fundamentalism are allies, if you like, from an ideological point of view, and also it is they are allies, regarding their interests. That's why both of them are fighting the same enemy, which is, the Syrian regime, and especially and largely, if you like, the Arab nationalism.
All right, now, if I may, the UN is set to team up with the Arab League monitoring mission, but the first mission report wasn't even taken into account by some UN members, even before they voted on the draft resolution. We're looking at an Arab League and a UN monitoring mission part 2. What's the point?
I don't think that the United Nations will be a neutral part in the conflict in Syria. It is the same for the Arab regime. You know that the United Nations is controlled by the imperialist countries, especially the United States, and accordingly, I don't think that they will accept its report if the report will be similar to the report which produced by the Arab people who sent from the Arab League.
So what he's saying is what I just said. Okay. This is somebody from the Palestinian administration, okay? And he's a doctor. I forget exactly what his name was. He said it in the beginning of the clip, okay? And he's being interviewed on RT. And what did you just hear him say? Oh, I know. People are going to discount what he said because he's, the guy's an Arab or he's from Palestine or whatever the case may be. It's ridiculous. I mean, it really is ridiculous. In fact, we'll try to find his full name for you in a second as I, go through the video here. And I don't think it's his name. Anyway, you can go watch the clip. It's titled on RT's YouTube channel, U.S. backs Al-Qaeda to mutually destroy Syria. So, I mean, I get so lost for words when I've repeated myself 1,000 times and I hear other people repeating themselves that we backed Al-Qaeda in Libya and people said, oh, you're crazy. And then they admitted it, but they denied it. And because there's so much information flying around, people get all confused and they don't know what to do. They don't know, oh, I don't know if it's true or not. And then you can find anything on websites. And I love that. Oh, well, anybody can put up a website. So a corporation could put up a website too and put anything they want on it. I mean, but they're a corporation. They wouldn't lie to us, right? I mean, does anybody pay attention to history? Does anybody pay attention at all? Bueller. Anyone? No war. No more of this crap. We can't afford it. And people, you're like, well, we're helping and free these oppressed people. No, you're not. You're getting involved in things that aren't your business. You're funding stuff that we can't afford to fund. Where are we going to get the money for this little foray? Oh, I guess we're just going to have to take away, your 401k plan. Hey, wait a minute. I paid into that. Oh, too bad. You want to help out? You want to help out because we're a global environment now, right? You want to be part of some world government? Well, guess what? You're going to have to pay for it. You can't have your stuff anymore. I actually know people that have said to me, in reference to the future, well, we should give up our houses and stuff like that. I've lived too comfortably for too long. I should live in a much smaller place so that other people in the world can live comfortably. Why can't we all just live comfortably and get along? There's more than enough space. No, there's not. Yes, there is. There's more than enough space in Africa alone to feed the entire world. Japanese independent study about 2 years ago. Maybe a little longer because now it's been like a year since the tsunami, so like maybe 2.5 years ago. But within like the past 2.5 years, Japanese independent study. Africa alone could feed the entire world. So this overpopulation thing is a myth. This is an idea that goes back a while. Why do you think they teach Darwinism? Why do you think they teach that in schools to children? Survival of the fittest. Because it's easier to teach children in the future lies like global warming and that we're not fit as a human race to exist, which is where they're going. Remember Prince Philip? Remember his little comment, when I die, if reincarnation is real? And of course I'm paraphrasing, but you can look this up. And he said, when I die, I want to come back as a virus. and wipe out mankind. Who says that kind of thing? Who says that? I mean, that's insane speak. That's just insane talk. If your father came home, if you're all sitting at the dinner table, right? Put that in context of your own stuff. You're sitting with your family. Your uncle walks in and says that. Well, if I die, I want to come back as a virus and wipe out mankind. You're going to look at your uncle and be like, you're effed up. You need some help. What the hell's wrong with you? If your son said that, parents would probably freak out. Oh, my God. We have to put him in a home. But some douchebag who wears a crown and, walks around flaunting himself as a Freemason, and he's married to an old, nasty, raisin-looking thing who probably drinks virgin blood. This guy says it, and it's okay. But if anybody else said things like that, they'd be locked up. So who's really crazy? I wonder. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to the top of the hour break. Hour one's already through. Always goes fast.
This is Sparta!
But fear not, I will be back with hour number 2. Don't buy into the Syria, the invasion of Syria hype. We don't need it. Don't buy into the invasion of Iran. We don't need it. We can't afford it. War is a very disgusting, horrible thing. I suggest you go actually see what happens. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned with hour number 2. We are back with hour number 2 here on the Orion Talk Radio Network, ladies and gentlemen. This is another edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. And before I forget, don't forget to stay tuned after my show today for another edition of the Conspiracy Chronicles with Joe Joseph and my buddy Tim Watts over on the Freedom Link radio show. So stay tuned. And from what I understand, Tim's got this massive article that he's going to, conspiracy, I guess, for lack of a better term of what you want to call it. But he's going to get into one story of conspiracy in this whole big picture. And from what I understand, it's so massive that it's going to probably take at least 2 shows. So I urge you guys to tune into not only this week, but next week, because from when he was telling me, it made my jaw drop. And this is off air. So I urge you, please. And I'm not going to take his thunder away and tell you anything. I'm just going to tease you with that. You'll have to go listen to his show. All right. So getting back into it. Hour number 2. And I'm still pissed. And there's a ton of things that I want to cover. But before I forget, I have to get into this. It is an imperative that I cover this. As you know, the one thing I'm ultimately passionate about, and just maybe over passionate about, is our veterans and how they're treated when they come home, or even here at home, even if they've never left, whatever. Veterans in general and their treatment is a very important subject near and dear to my heart. And you know that I am willing to sacrifice as much time as I possibly have to get their voices out and stories for them heard. And a lot of people say to me, well, why won't they do it themselves? Because that's the type of people they are. Because they try to be strong enough and move on with it and not burden other people. They're not whiny bitches about things. So it requires people with a big mouth like me to stand up and say something on their behalf, because the mainstream media certainly won't. And when they do, they always distort stuff, to protect whoever. Now, I saw an article today. It was from Natural News. And it really, 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 it just fired me up. Apparently it's from yesterday. But this is not how we treat our veterans, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm about to read to you, this is not how you treat our veterans. This is disgusting behavior. Disgusting, deplorable, and I spit right at the feet of the individuals involved in this. You should all be ashamed of yourself Disgusting. Depressed Army reservist attacked by police force after calling for help. The military spends thousands, tens of thousands of man-hours annually and no small amounts of money training its personnel to seek help for any feelings of hopelessness or depression they may experience. The Army especially focuses on this issue because the suicide rate amongst its members has hit new highs in the wake of a decade of war in two separate theaters involving multiple deployments for millions of soldiers. That concern has also spilled over into the Guard and Reserve as well, since the Army has had to tap both those branches in order to meet its personnel obligations for Iraq and Afghanistan. With that in mind, when one D.C. area Army reservist reached out for help recently, he was instead surrounded by dozens of police officers who searched and allegedly vandalized his home, all without a warrant, according to his lawsuit. Matthew Corrigan, who, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, who lives alone with his dog, says in his suit that he called what he thought was a military emotional support hotline in February of 2010, but which actually turned out to be a national suicide prevention hotline after feeling unusually depressed for several days. Now, that's a big, important thing because he thinks he's calling a military assistance line, and it goes to the regular national suicide assistance hotline being manned by civilians who could never understand what that veteran himself is going through. Hence why they reacted the way they did. And I'll get into that. So there's the first problem. The military shunning its responsibility off on a civilian, group of individuals who doesn't understand what a veteran is going through. Couldn't possibly even try to understand what this poor guy is going through. Unacceptable. They set him up to fail right off the bat. That's the Army's fault. That's strike one. Now, anyway, he called it up in February of 2010, and he was feeling unusually depressed for a couple of days, so he called up. And when he called, he stated that he was a veteran, and the first thing they asked was if he had firearms, and he answered yes. He didn't say anything about being suicidal or using a firearm or threatening anybody. He just answered that he had guns, which is his legal Second Amendment right. After a short conversation, he hung up, turned off the phone, took prescribed sleeping pills, and went to bed. 4 o'clock in the morning, he wakes up to a sea of cops outside, calling his name on a bullhorn with floodlights and everything else, about 20 in the front, 8 in the backyard, and he turned on his phone, and it was the SWAT team, and they told him to get out of his house, come out, blah, 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 blah. And when the lieutenant asked him for his keys, he said, no, I'm not going to give you consent. I don't give you consent to enter my place. They just went and broke into his place anyway and searched it. They confiscated his guns. They took his dog to an animal shelter, and they locked him up in the VA for 3 days. And they vandalized his house, meaning they turned everything over. When they turn a house over, they turn a house over. They pull drawer. Ask anybody that's been in Iraq or Afghanistan, or you can just watch cops and watch what they do. That's why the soldiers are trained to be police officers, by the way. That's why they go do that, and they turn drawers and everything over. That's things police officers do. They call it tossing a room. And then, of course, our soldiers and Marines and sailors are taught that, and airmen are taught to do that kind of stuff on raids and stuff. See, it's getting everybody on the same page of how to be a good little, Nazi soldier and go do your thing, or whatever you want to call it. I'm just using the term Nazi, by the way, because they were fascists. That's it. It's not to try to draw any correlation for the people that are going to go all up in arms about it. Anyway, it triggered his hypervigilance, and he had to spend 3 days in the hospital. And I don't know if you guys understand what hypervigilance is, but when you're in a war zone, you the chances of dying are 24/7. It's not like, well, from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock today, I might get shot or blown up. So every little sound, every little noise, anything, you're on edge because you got to make sure you're in that stage, that frame of mind to get ready and go. You gotta, what the hell do they call it in boot camp? Sense of urgency. You have to have that sense of urgency at all times. And it's hard to turn that off when it's been on for a long, long time. It's very hard to turn it off. You can't just come in and flick it like a light switch. It's not that easy. And this, busting into his house with, SWAT teaming him and all this other crap and floodlights and guns and body armor and everything else. This brought back memories for him and it caused him to have, problems with his PTSD. And they confiscated his firearms and everything. He never once said that he was doing anything wrong, that that I'm going to shoot myself or shoot somebody else. Never said any of that. And they showed up at his house with a SWAT team, all because he called a number that he was told to call. So you see, there's a little thing that goes back a couple of years. I urge you to look it up. It's called the Veterans Disarmament Act. I believe it was like 2007 or 2008, around there. Might have even been 2009. But it was around there. I think it was like around 2007. It's called the Veterans Disarmament Act. And if you get labeled with PTSD and that you're upset and that you're a threat to anybody, you're done. You're done. They take away your guns. They'll lock you up in a VA hospital. I've seen the VA police tase a guy on a hospital gurney while the doctors are yelling at him, and he's just tasing the crap out of the guy because the guy didn't want to be admitted to the hospital. And the doctor said, you must. And the guy had a heart condition. So what was even the VA police, what was their reaction? The guy's got a heart condition, doesn't want to stay in the hospital overnight. Well, we'll tase him and make him stay in the hospital. Possibly kill him. The treatment our veterans get is disgusting. Stop with the I support the troops crap. Support them and bring them home. We're going to break. All right, I want to get back into Syria really quick. There's something I want to cover that I didn't cover the first hour about it. There are quote-unquote terror groups running around killing doctors and other intellectuals inside of Syria. Now, why would that happen? And I dropped the link in the chat room. Otherwise, you guys can just look up on whatever search engine. This is the title of the article. It was posted on February 11th of 2012. The title is, A Terrorist Group Assassinates Brigadier General Dr. Issa al-Kholi in Damascus. And his name is ISSA space AL-KHOLI. Now, if you look that up and you read the article, you'll see that it's not only him, but other intellectuals inside of Syria are being targeted. Now, why would you target individuals? Why would, in a country where the government was trying to suppress a revolution, as we're being told, a repressive regime, why would you have these quote-unquote, I guess the terror organizations, you could consider them to be the quote-unquote rebels, right? The Free Syrian Army. Why would they go around assassinating intellectuals? You're going to need these people when you rebuild the country and you get rid of the regime, correct? Oh, wait a minute. I've seen this before in other quote-unquote coups. The first people that get rounded up are the intellectuals. Again, dating back to what the Nazis did. Even going back to what Stalin did. Stalin did the same thing. He purged Russia of all the scientists, all these great minds, literary minds, writers, doctors, all these great intellectuals. He wiped them clean out of Russia. It took them forever to get back to somewhat normal from that. It took them years. I think they're still suffering because of it. Same thing happened in Iraq. A lot of the intellectuals were killed. And because of sanctions and stuff over the course of years, and bombing raids and, bombings and stuff killed certain individuals. And then over the course of years through sanctions and everything else, there was just illiteracy. Schools were destroyed. Things weren't being taught to children anymore. And then when our troops go over there, these dumb people can't even drive. I know, guys. I know they can't drive. I know a lot of them are illiterate, but we helped create that. 20, 30 years ago, Iraq was an amazing place. First heart transplant in the Middle East was conducted in Iraq. I bet you if you were a soldier or Marine, an airman or sailor today, you would say, Popeye, there's no way that they did a heart transplant in Iraq. I've been there. That place is a shithole. Well, we made it that way. We did that. Imagine if you couldn't import parts, fuel, anything into your country to fix broken stuff. We rely on a lot of imports. Imagine if we couldn't import anything. Imagine if as a result of our terrorist activity throughout the world, that when I say our, I mean the United States government, okay? So let me rephrase that, not our, but as a result of the United States government's terrorist activity throughout the world, and I say that because of all the stuff they've done to terrorize other countries by bombing, brown people or Asian people of any type all around the world, we have created terror. We terrorize individuals. This country terrorizes this country terrorizes people to a degree that the general populace is so oblivious to, it's unreal. Now, getting back into it, why would we be assassinating, or why would these groups be assassinating Syrian scientists and doctors and, leaders, intellectuals and stuff, politicians? Why would they be the first ones to be taken out? Because they would be the leaders. They would be the people that would step up to the plate if there really was a regime change and say, well, I want to be involved, or this is what should go on, or no, you're lying, and this is, I grew up here, I understand. So they have to be killed first. They have to be taken out so that when they try to topple the regime, or when the regime is toppled, their plans look at it as when the regime is toppled, now they'll have a much easier time controlling the general populace. Because you won't have all these, the rigmarole with the people stepping up and, no, I'm blah, blah, blah. Because if you assassinate them then, it looks shady. But if they're killed, beforehand in fighting, you blame it on whoever. Well, they killed him because he must have pissed them off or whatever. They'll come up with 18 different reasons. But that's how you destabilize a country. You get rid of its thinkers first. You get rid of its doctors, its intellectuals. Can you imagine if the British came over, and believe me, the British tried it. Can you imagine if the British were successful in getting rid of all the intellectuals that were involved in our revolution? Jefferson, Washington, Madison, all of them. Let's say that they wiped all of them out, and the only thing left were the farmers themselves. Do you think the revolution would have gone as it went? No, it would not. And it would have been much easier for them to control the outcome, the British. Well, that's what we're doing. We are doing the exact same thing. The exact same thing. We control that. I shouldn't say we, because you and me really don't control it. I should say the globalist New World Order. I hate using the term globalist, too, because that just buys into their, globalism, it's so beautiful, one world. Again, I'm not against it. I think it would be cool if we could explore outer space and everything else, but not some tyrannical one-world government. And a case in point right now, you want to talk about giving up your sovereignty? Give you a real case, a real example before we go to the break. Right now, London is being told that because the EU, the European Union, passed a rule that said even if you're in jail, you can vote. Now, here we have the same thing. If you're in jail, you lose your rights and everything. You don't have any rights. You're, filth. You can't vote. You're nothing. You lose all your rights. Now, the EU passed a law saying that anybody in the European Union, if they have people in jail, the people in jail have the right to vote. Even if you have laws on the books already that say they don't. Now, it's not an argument of whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, because, see, that's where it gets lost, because then if there is good being brought out about it, people will always go, oh, but it's a good thing. How could you argue that? And that's why they do it like that. Okay, that's not the issue. That is actually what you would call a red herring argument, okay? That is to distract you from the true thing. The true thing is the fact that this panel of judges who are unelected, one from each country in the European Union, but they weren't elected, they were appointed. And this panel of judges is deciding whether or not your laws for your country are correct or not. So, to put that in context, it craps all over the sovereignty of the UK. Now, you know that the Queen and all that, and they understand what's going on. A lot of times the EU and the rigmarole back and forth is sometimes politics here and there. And remember, there's always infighting, amongst these morons too. But put it in context for the United States. They take Canada, the United States, and South America, and they make it the North American Union. Now, all of a sudden, you have a panel of judges, right, from different countries all over the place, and they decide that your Second Amendment rights and your First Amendment rights, and in fact, all of the amendments, your constitutional rights, don't exist. And they adopt the same theory that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are just a goddamn piece of paper. Yeah, wow. That thought scares the crap out of you, doesn't it? So there's a perfect example of what happens when you get sucked into these unions. European Union, North American Union, New World Order crap. We're going to break. We'll be right back. I'm glad that commercial for the Full Metal Jousting played again, because I was actually going to rank on that. And no, they're not a supporter or anything of Orion. It's part of the IRN radio newsfeed that Jimmy grabs so you guys can hear, it's like space filler, basically. You got to put it in there, different behind-the-scenes radio stuff, but I have to make fun of the History Channel commercial, which is not a supporter of us, so I can make fun of them, because you're not supposed to, you should never, ever rip your sponsors or anything like that. That's very tacky, and when you hear hosts do that, thumbs down, very bad. But they're not a sponsor, so I can rip on the History Channel all I want. And they actually set up a perfect segue. So I have to thank IRN and the History Channel. And I actually have to thank the History Channel for spending so much money in their propaganda to put out their stupid jousting show, which I'm going to show you the absurdity of something in a second. But instead of people paying attention to things that they should, they're going to be watching a show where two grown men, well, and I'm sure there's actually more than just the two of them. There's obviously, it's a competition, so there's probably 5 or 6 of them. But grown men dress up in armor, get on horses, and joust each other. And these guys are breaking ribs and breaking elbows. Man, it's like getting hit by a train. Then why are you doing it, stupid? Why are you doing that to your body? Because why? There is no sensible reason to do it. I joust. That's my sport, Popeye. Well, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You are a complete moron. You dress up. Why don't you go work at Medieval Times? Actually, that's probably where most of these guys came from. Okay? They probably worked at Medieval Times, got fired or something, and somehow they got picked up by a reality show. I mean, this is just pathetic. So now the new heroes on TV for kids, that's going to be their goal. I want to work at Medieval Times, Mom, and be a knight so I can joust people. That's the kind of crap that they're putting on TV. And they call it history, the History Channel. Okay? Well, there's something that was actually put together by the Discovery Channel back in the 90s. And it was removed. It was taken off. It was all the copies were bought up by the Secret Service, and it was round filed. And in fact, it might have even been the 80s. I don't remember if it was the 80s or 90s. I have to actually look that up. I want to say the 90s, but it could have even back into the late 80s. And the name of the movie is called Conspiracy of Silence. Okay? Conspiracy of Silence. And it's about the Franklin cover-up. Now, people say, what's the Franklin cover-up? Well, I'm going to play you a little bit of a tidbit of it. I'm going to play you a little clip, a little tiny tidbit, so you can hear. This is the stuff that they should be playing. This is the stuff that they should be airing, and they don't, okay? It's disgusting. This is what they should be talking about on the History Channel. And the reason I use that jousting thing is because it shows you the drastic difference between the two. It shows you the juxtaposition. It shows you what they should be airing and stuff that back, in the day they actually did try to come out with things, but unfortunately you can see that it was covered up and hushed, okay? And you can see, okay, it was not, by the way, I looked it up, it was the 90s. So it was May of 1994 it was supposed to air. And you could see how it was hushed up and quieted, okay? And shh, can't talk about this. And what do they put on instead of intellectual programming like this to show you what's really going on in this country? You know, take the, rip the scab off the wound and clean it out and be done with it? No. They'd rather let it fester and turn into something worse and get septic and kill this country. So what do they air? They air retarded programming of grown-ass men dressing in armor and jousting each other. And by the way, to the idiots that do that, you guys aren't real men. You can get mad at me and, you know, yeah, I'm going to tell this guy to go F himself. I ain't no real man. We talk about I got broken rims and broken arm. That doesn't mean you're a real man. It just means you're an idiot. That's all it means. It means that you're an effing idiot for doing that, okay? You're not cool because you get dressed up in armor and joust each other, you idiots. Medieval times morons. All right, and I'm not picking on anybody that works at medieval times either, but, I mean, come on. Grown men jousting? Really? This is what they're trying to... they're pussifying men. They're making them morons. And I played Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. You don't see me running around in a wizard robe or, you know, whatever the hell else, or as a knight on horseback and get, you know, trying to reenact battles. No. It was when I was a kid. And it was role-playing. It was, you know, you grow out of that. This country, this is why things have gone south in this country. Because you have grown men more concerned about jousting than protecting your wife or your kids from these douchebags at the TSA or these pedophile bastards. No, but you morons would rather freaking, you make me sick. None of you are men. None. You think I would ever let one of these low-life pieces of trash touch my wife? Are you kidding me? But you joust, so that shows how manly you are. Ugh. And then, of course, that's the crap that they air. So, getting back to Conspiracy of Silence, this should have aired in 94. Secret Service bought up all the stuff. Discovery, and there was other chicanery going on. I forget. There was somebody else that they put pressure on the... it was Congress, but there was other people, too. The Secret Service bought all the copies. You can go look up the exact details, but basically they didn't want anybody knowing about this because this involved Congress too. So Congress helped cover this up. But they destroyed all the tapes. One copy somebody got out and made multiple VHS copies. Eventually it got on the internet, and then now there was a book written about it and everything else. Here, I'll let you check it out. For the people that don't know, I'm going to introduce you to the Conspiracy of Silence. I urge you to please just go to my YouTube channel. It's up there. Okay, it's on The Answer to 1984 is. Go to that channel and look up Conspiracy of Silence, and it's also on Federal Jack Tube 6 as well. Now here's the intro from it so you guys can get an idea of what should be aired on the History Channel rather than morons jousting.
Once one of America's top Republicans, Lawrence King is serving a 15-year prison sentence for a multi-million-dollar fraud. But financial crime is only half the story. This is the true story of Lawrence King. It is the story of a cancer at the heart of America and of its continuing...
Now, you got to forgive the audio, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's kind of crappy, but you got to remember this was destroyed. We're lucky we even have this.
...cover-up at the highest level. One man is attempting to uncover the full story. John DeCamp is among the most highly decorated Vietnam veterans. A former Republican state senator in Lincoln, Nebraska, he is now a lawyer fighting the legacy of Lawrence King's abuse of power.
It's a web of intrigue that starts in our Holy of Holies, Boys Town, Nebraska, one of the most respected institutions in the United States, and spreads out like a spider web to Washington, D.C., right up to the steps of the nation's capital, the steps of the White House, involves some of the most respected and powerful and richest businessmen in this United States of America. And the centerpiece of the entire web is the use of children for sex and drug dealing and drug couriers, the compromising of politicians, the compromising of businessmen, but worst of all, the corruption of key institutions of government that have the duty and responsibility to make sure these things never happen.
For John DeCamp, the trail starts in a unique town just outside Omaha.
World-famed Boys Town is in the news again.
Made famous by an Oscar-winning film, Boys Town is America's favorite children's charity. It was founded in 1917 by a Catholic priest, Father Flanagan.
Father Flanagan. The saddest spectacle in our social life is the neglected, unwanted, and unloved boy who has become a serious problem in our society.
Boys Town started to be a home for orphans. Was that?
Yeah, so their solution to the problem of these boys in society, the homeless boys of society, was to create Boys Town. And then they were molested, pimped out, touched, used for drug running, used for child prostitution. Hey, good solution to the problem, guys. Good solution to a problem. See? Problem, reaction, solution. Disgusting. How about that? You all better run and hide, because all of us good people, we're coming for you, pricks. You evil bastards cannot hide in the dark forever, and when we find you, you will pay for what you did to these children and others and the rest of the innocents worldwide. You hear me? You rotten bastards, you better run and hide. You better look over your effing shoulders. We're coming.
They plot, they fun, they act, it's real. They watch, they hunt, they punish and kill.
Yea, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For I am the baddest mother effer in the valley. Won't you join me in feeling the same way and stand up and fight the New World Order? There's nothing to fear, ladies and gentlemen. They want you to be afraid of them, just like a bully does. They want you to say, ooh, please don't hurt me. Just take and do whatever you want. Just please don't hurt me. Leave me alone. They're not going to leave you alone. And neither will I. Not until you stand up and do something about it. Growing up when I was a kid, a lot of my friends became my friends because I would intervene. I would see people getting picked on. And this is not a joke. If you talk to any of the kids I grew up with, most of them will tell you this is how we met. And one of my friends, for instance, I met him at a pond behind my house. I was going to play with a remote control boat I had at the time. And he happened to be out there, I guess, using his as well. And when I got up there were kids picking on him and beating him up. There was 2 kids. And I proceeded to walk up, and I took one of them out with a rather large stick, and I picked up a rock and put it in my hand, and I grabbed the other kid by his throat and told him if he didn't leave and drag his idiot friend with him, he wasn't going to have any teeth. And they left. And I became friends with this kid. Now, I taught him how to defend himself, and it took me years to get him to this point where he would defend himself. And I had to fight many a battle for him. And I have to tell you something. The day he fought back, he only had to do it once. And one of the biggest, loudest bullies in the high school left him alone. And everybody's view on this kid changed instantaneously and overnight. And they realized he shouldn't be trifled with. He was like 6'4" when we were in high school, a big kid. But he was, a little kid trapped in a big kid's body, and he wasn't sure of himself. And the day he laid this kid out, this kid had punched him in the face like 3 or 4 times, and finally he reacted by giving this kid a good one shot. Knocked this kid over 2 desks and laid him out. Nobody ever picked on this kid ever again. Then he walked around with a bigger level of self-confidence. Now, am I saying go out and beat people up? No. I'm using the story as an example of standing up for oneself. Doing the right thing. First of all, when you see somebody getting picked on and beat down, okay, and I'm talking if you see a bunch of people picking on, say, there's a retarded kid or somebody that's slow or whatever, you see 80 people ganging up on somebody and picking on them. Don't join in. Why don't you do something different? Why don't you stand up for them, and why don't you set them straight? Guarantee you, if you open your mouth and you start telling people, you also have to be fast, ladies and gentlemen. Don't try to get into a verbal war unless you're very quick-witted, because then you'll look dumb if you try to sit there and go, But fire some verbal shots off. Stand up against society. Stand up against the norm. Do the right thing. If you take anything away from my radio shows, I always try to give some sort of solution at one point or another. Maybe not every show. A lot of times I have shows where it's just so jam-packed, but I try to give you guys solution once in a while, or solutions, I should say, once in a while. Today's solution, if there's anything you walk away with from the show, is do the right thing. Do the right thing. If that means getting out of your car in the middle of traffic, don't get hit by a car. But if that means getting out and helping some little old lady across the street because she's trying to walk, through the crosswalk and the light changes and people are just driving her around her, do the right thing and at least escort her to safety in the median until the light changes again. And if people honk at you and swear at you, tell them to go around you. You put your four-ways on and you get out of the car. It means doing the right thing. It means and I'm not saying, look, if you see, there are times you have to be wary and not just jump into a situation. It also means being vigilant, opening your eyes and paying attention so that you understand what you're getting yourself involved in. Don't just run, nary in any situation and, I'm here to be Superman. But it means do the right thing. So if you're in a situation and you realize that something is wrong, don't go along with it. Follow what your heart says to you as a human being. That's why when a lot of soldiers and airmen and Marines and sailors are coming home and they're killing themselves, more so soldiers and Marines. And they're killing themselves. And why? Because they were forced to do things beyond their humanity and they felt trapped and they did it and they can't deal with it and it eats them up inside. And we owe these people, these men and women, more than that. They are not just dogs to be thrown away. They are not to be urinated upon. We need to do, as a country, we need to do the right thing and take care of them mentally and physically. And then we need to do the right thing and bring them all home. That's how you support troops. You want to support the troops? You want to be a good person? You want to say, I support the troops. You want to support the troops? Here's how you support them. Stop deploying them and bring them home. They don't belong even in Germany or Japan. We don't have to have bases there. You know what? The Japanese don't want us in their country. We don't belong there. Well, we've helped out. That doesn't mean anything. I don't care if we've helped out in a situation here or there. We don't belong there. If they want our help, they can come call for it. And then we can go that route. Bring our men and women home. Stop deploying them worldwide. We're not the world's police. Stop forcing our young men and women to do things that they shouldn't be doing. And when people go, wow, I have no feelings for people that join the military knowing what they know now. They don't know, jackass. They're fed the same line of crap that we used to. And they think the same way we used to. They actually think, once in a while a sociopath joins, but a lot of times these people join because they think what they're doing is the right thing. Plus, a lot of people join because of the economy now. It's the only business that's booming is war and debt. Bring them all home. It'll save money. It'll stop the wars. And it'll show the world that we actually mean business and that we are good. Because we used to be looked at and revered, and now we're hated. And everybody's like, well, they hate us for our freedoms. No, idiots. That's what the government would love you to believe. They don't hate us for our freedoms. There are countries that are, have way more freedoms than we do, and they don't have problems with quote-unquote terrorism. It's crap. You want to do the right thing? Bring the troops home. You want to do the right thing? A vet. Civilians, don't try to sit and talk to a vet. You're not going to understand anything when it comes to how he's feeling. I know that. But how you can help that person is maybe try to hook them up with people that do understand them. Maybe there's a VFW around them. Don't send them to a mental institution. Don't think they're broken or psychotic. Don't treat them like children because that pisses them off further. Don't treat them like they have AIDS or like they're stupid either. They're not dumb. They've just been through hell and they've survived it. And you ought to respect them for that. And you ought to give them the goddamn respect they're due. I support the troops. I put a yellow ribbon on my oak tree. But, my brother, he came back from Iraq and he's so nuts we called the cops and had him incarcerated and locked up in the VA mental institution. So that's not really supporting the troops. He didn't go nuts. He went through hell and he survived. And you ought to be sympathetic to that. If you don't understand him, then try to at least hook him up with somebody that can. Don't just call the oh, he has to go to the VA. The VA will take care of him. No, they won't. There's alternatives out there. Look up IVAW. There's one that's more kind of like neoconish. It's Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America or something like that. I think it's IAVA or something. But check out IVAW. Those would be the first people I would send you to. They can at least send you in the right direction. It's Iraq Veterans Against the War. These are the same people that have been through what you've been through, or what your family member has been through, or your friend has been through. Don't treat them like invalids. That's so disrespectful, it pisses me off. These men and women deserve our respect, goddammit. These kids coming back deserve our respect. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying, yes, baby killers and all that. They were used as pawns. If you understand the game, you'll understand what they went through. We need to help them, and we need to go after the mothers that did this. That's what we have to do. We have to get the pricks that did this and that started this. Why be mad at the chess piece when you should be mad at the douchebag playing the game? And that's who we have to go after. Dick Cheney, he should be held accountable. His whole crew, the PNAC crew, all of them. And not just them, the Rockefellers. And this goes so deep, you all know that I could sit here for 18 hours reading names off. We need to hold them accountable. How about the torture? No, instead we lock up privates and sergeants for what happened at Abu Ghraib, when you and I all know that that's not how, that they weren't just some off-the-wall, bunch of morons that did it. It's disgusting. Do the right thing. Admit we were wrong about Iraq. That's a big step. Do the right thing. Get up and fight. You want a motto to live by? Do the right thing. There it is. Get mad, get involved, make a YouTube account, get out on the street, give out DVDs, do what you can, wake your neighbors, and get ready.
This is Sparta!
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of time today. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve you once again. I will see you Wednesday night. I'm out.